It's day 3. Today's the gender day, so I'm excited to talk all about women's equality today, and I think we're doing LGBTQ in the afternoon as well. So it's going to be a great day. Let's do this.
Identified as white men.
Well, the other sister had it because she never said who she was.
But we don't tell. The bookstore we had, I think 30% off. Really good. So what's the objective? They're trying to put the balls into the
ring.
Very interesting.
In the movie, they actually fly around a room.
Okay, so that
Very
those
nerdy thing.
So I decided to walk back today, and as you can see, it is gorgeous.
And I am headed to the Lizzo concert. I'm so excited. There are 3 of us that are going. So I'm going to head downstairs to our little reception, say hey, get a little bite so I don't have to buy food. And yeah, I'm headed to see Lizzo. So excited.
Because my family, my daughter was like in Spain.
Woo! Woo!
Happy birthday.
You're going to the concert.
Yes.
And you're just a fan.
Yeah.
What does her song mean? I mean, I love her song. Yeah, super popular. I love her. I think she's great.
Super popular.
But I haven't.
Because I love you too, tour, right? So. You're so sweet, bless your heart. Can't let it was perfect, Boston. Maybe hold on.
Hey y'all, so it is day 3, and as I was showing y'all, I'm on the walk back to the hotel, which is maybe a half a mile or so, maybe a mile. But I haven't been out here long, and the walk has been beautiful, as you all saw. So I thought I would share my recap. I already had my gelato. That's done. I need to touch up my lip, but you know, y'all just gonna get this half done lip today. So today was awesome. We started out today talking about gender inequality, and so Iris, no, it's not Iris, it's spelled like Iris, it's pronounced Iris Bonet. She's from Switzerland, and she's a dean, and she presented her research based off of her book, which we all got a signed copy of, talking about, well, actually we worked through a case. So we had a case study to read, which was pretty much about gender diversity on the boards of corporations in the UK, and how there was pretty much a government standard that was set. And so we talked through the challenges that presented, as well as the solutions, and then we had to read the case. We got to read the case prior to class, and then at the end of the class she gave us the second part, which was the actual solution after we talked through it as a class. So that was super interesting. We talked about a lot of things today. Oh my goodness, we talked about how the main primary topic, after just broadly speaking about gender inequality in the workplace, was around talent management. So how organizations go about recruiting talent, but not only recruiting talent, because as we discussed in the data, and as was also, I feel like, my corporate experience, when you looked around at entry level positions, there would be diversity. Maybe not a lot, but there would be some. And as you moved up within the organization, the numbers just get smaller and smaller and become just, abysmal. So that was more of the conversation today. We touched on recruitment and how do you attract diverse talent, particularly as it relates to gender parity. But today's conversation was more so about how do you retain that talent, particularly as it related to career advancement, which of course is my area with Career Thrivers. And so it was really, really interesting to not only have the data presented by an expert to get her thoughts, but then also to hear the perspective of, the myriad of different organizations, from corporate to non-for-profit to government to everything in between, clergy, everything in between in the room. So really, really interesting. One of the takeaways from that discussion that I thought was really interesting was how, and sorry if it's loud, I'm walking like next to the road. So in between the road and the river here. But there was this conversation around panel interviews, and how panel interviews in this professor's perspective that has done all of this research in this area are not productive, because they incite groupthink, and how it is, based on her research, much better to have individual interviews and then to come together and talk through after each individual interviewer has assessed the candidate, to then come together and do more of a median type of correlation of the scoring from the interview to assess, whether or not that candidate has earned the job. So very interesting conversation around talent management. And then we went from that. So that was pretty much all before lunch. And then after lunch, we talked about having difficult conversations. And boy, we really had some good discussion and interaction, and just like workshop activities, sessions throughout the time on this topic. One of the really hard takeaways, which of course, as most of you know, the majority of my background has been in sales. So a lot of the principles around having difficult conversations, particularly when the stakes are high, are very, very similar to those aspects that make great salespeople great salespeople. The language was a little bit different though in the academic space. So we talked about today the difference between advocacy and inquiry, and how to maximize difficult conversations, particularly those when the stakes are high. We need to have more inquiry in our conversations than we have advocacy, meaning we need to ask more questions than we make statements. So it was really telling. The professor had us do a an exercise where we partnered up. One person was A, the other person was B, and then we had to so he had A pretty much like turn around, and A couldn't see what was on the screen, and then on the screen was instructions for B. So I was B in this instance, and so B had to count how many statements versus questions there were, and A had to sell us something. That was the whole premise of the exercise. So like my partner, what did she sell me? Oh my gosh. Oh, she sold me something like made up. She like made up this like potion that makes you invincible. But people sold like laptops that were in the room, pins, whatever. It didn't matter what you sold. But the whole purpose of the activity was to determine how much we lean on, or really to give an example of how much we lean on statements versus questions in our conversations with people, particularly when the stakes are high and we're trying to get to, a desired outcome, which is typically what you're trying to do in any conversation is take a journey somewhere. And so we really unpacked what that meant in the room. And then lastly, we had an expert come in and share about LGBTQ advocacy in the workplace. And so that was also an interesting conversation. So all in all, even though my eyeshadow is gone, I'm getting that whole like crevice thing going on because of the oils from the day. That's better. It's been a really good day. So guess where I'm headed, y'all? I'm headed back to the hotel. We have a little reception, and then one of my classmates had an extra ticket to go see Lizzo tonight here in Boston. So I'm gonna go by the reception, say hello, and then I am catching an Uber and heading out to meet my classmate at this concert. So I am so excited. I did not plan to go to a concert while I was here, but you know what? Things just be working out. So I'm excited. I'll let y'all know how it goes.